Hey, happy Friday. You've made it to the end of the week, and you know what that means this week? It's time for your mailbag questions answered 100% correctly, or this is important, your money back.
Wait, we're giving money back?
Yeah, well, the same money they pay to listen to this broadcast, we're happy to give it back to them.
All right.
You can win your subscription rate. How's that? Yeah, 1 free year of listening to Sports Day Tampa Bay.
1 free year? I mean, we're coming up on like 9.
7, 9? Oh, is it 9?
Yeah, actually, we keep missing. By the way, we keep missing milestones.
Did we miss another one? 250?
Oh, we miss them all the time. Hold on. Where are we at now? Hold on.
I don't know. I would say 250.
Well, no, we had 2000.
2050.
This is show 2213.
We missed 2200.
Yeah.
Ugh. Jeez. What's the next one we celebrate? 2500 maybe?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we could do 2300, but really 2500. So
2500.
That's about a year from now, probably.
That's a walk in the park. We'll be there before you know it. Yeah. In my day, remember show 2000? Yeah, just think of that. Wow. That's a lot of shows that we've done just for you folks. And when I say just for you, I mean just for you. So yeah, mailbag questions. I'm sure there's something on the Bucs, the Rays, maybe even the Lightning. Who knows?
We got lots of Bucs questions today. We got some Lightning too.
Well, good. I'm kind of ready to talk about them. Somebody asked me. I got asked this TV question that I do. If shameless plug, if you listen to, Bay News 9, Bright House. It was not Bright House anymore. Was it Spectrum Sports? Spectrum Sports 360. Know your employer, Rick. On Monday nights, usually I'm on, but I was on Wednesday night this week. One of the questions was like, what's one of the bigger off-season storylines yet to play out? And I don't want to get into this too deeply, but like I would say Baker Mayfield, contract. Are they going to do something with that contract? And I really don't know. I've talked to his agent. They've had some, discussions basically saying, yeah, we'll talk later. And it's probably going to be like deep into the summer. When I say deep, like maybe before training camp or even into training camp a little bit.
Yeah, I would say it's after the draft before.
Yeah, after the draft for sure.
Right now they're focused on that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's obviously pluses and minuses to it. My feeling is that they really like Baker Mayfield. When I say like Brady was obviously in a different realm and he brought him a Super Bowl and all that, and the GOAT. There wasn't anything they weren't going to do for Tom Brady. And to the point where I'd be almost offended a little bit if I'm Baker at this point. But like they like him so much and not really looking to, get back into the quarterback market because they win too many games to get in the top 5 anyway. So now you're looking at trying to find somebody just like Baker Mayfield, right? Somebody that's been to a few stops like a Sam Darnold and Baker and right now.
Well, what the Vikings are doing with Kyler Murray and the Falcons are doing with Tua Tagovailoa.
There you go. Perfect examples. So that then you put yourself back in that sort of position. But you have that guy, you think, in Baker. So I think
that's the real question. Do they honestly think he's that guy? Like, I know they like him. I know they think he's good. But is he that guy? I mean, that's where teams get into trouble.
No question.
Liking a guy is great.
I think Miami got into trouble.
But is he that guy?
I think Miami got into trouble.
If your goal is to win a Super Bowl, which some can question that at times.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to win a Super Bowl, is he that guy?
It's a great question. It's one they got to answer. And I think they think he is. I think they believe that he can do that. He can do what Darnold does. Now, does he need, like most quarterbacks, really good players around him? Yes, and definitely he does. But I would say this, like, again, the red flags would be he's not 25. He's going to be 31. And guys can play to almost damn near 40.
But can he stay healthy?
But there you go. And when we say healthy, like he has not missed a game with the Bucs. He's played three full seasons. But you go back and watch it, like this dude is leaking oil, from week 2. And so as the season goes on, he definitely has a pattern of wearing down. He did it in Cleveland. He's worn down here.
Well, that's why he's benching or squatting 400 and whatever the other day.
Did you see that? Was that crazy the other day?
Yeah.
I thought that was AI or something. Dude was squatting 450. That is... Now, he's not the tallest guy, so, there's that. But he's still a legit 6.5 inches, listed as 6'1", but yeah, that was sick.
But I also think he could have a big year because he's going to have a better offensive coordinator.
I think this will be more of the Liam Cohen 4,500 yards passing, 30 plus touchdowns than it will be last year or Dave Canales. This is, Zach Robinson and Cohen are good friends. Robinson's called plays for 2 years. He's comfortable with them.
Right. Now, I think his receiving core is a little weaker. Because
without Mike, it's going to be tougher. But it's not like they don't have talent. They're deep.
But you didn't have Ibuka that year when you had Liam Cohen here. You didn't.
Emeka's got to take a big step.
Yes, he does. And McMillan does too.
And McMillan's got to stay healthy, and he could take a big step. And you saw some flashes from Tez Johnson and so on and so forth.
I think your running back tandem's a little better, particularly out of the backfield as a weapon.
Yes.
I think, Gainwell's better than White.
Gainwell's certainly better, and all you got to do is ask the league. Gainwell's making $7 million a year, and White's going to make $2 million.
And Bucky is now going into his third year.
Mm-hmm. Bucky's got to stay healthy. For me,
he does. Yes,
the Bucky thing is just about, can a guy that small run his style? You know what I mean? He's sort of a downhill breaks contact guy.
And that's where I know it's hard to get 3 running backs into the game.
Yeah,
but I'd like to see them use 3 more consistently this year.
Well, and they re-signed Tucker.
That's what I mean. Gainwell's kind of replacing Rachaad White and is even a better weapon in the passing game than White was, and White was good there.
Yeah, very good.
And then I think Sean Tucker needs to take some carries at times to lighten the load. It's not about Bucky getting the stats for the first 4 games of the season. It's keeping him healthy for 17.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think that Tucker kind of fell into this mode of being their goal line guy, short yardage guy, goal line guy. I think he had 7 or 8 touchdowns last year. And again, not the biggest guy in the world. All these guys, the difference is, Rachaad White was a big back. He was like 6'1" and about 225. But he didn't run big. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't a downhill guy. You'll get more of that with Gainwell's much more efficient as a runner. I mean, his average was damn near 5 yards a carry, where, career-wise, Rachaad White was barely busting 4, if that. And so I think you're going to get a more efficient runner, certainly a good receiver. I actually could see, just kind of based on, they've said the right things at Bucky's RB1, but I could see Gainwell actually emerging as, look, if you're the most valuable player on a Steelers team that has Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf and those guys, then you're pretty damn good. And if he can be that for the Steelers, he could be that for the Bucs, especially without Mike Evans here. But yeah, I don't know how we got off topic. I just wanted to mention that I think that a big storyline is Mayfield, I think, this year. And I do think that they try to get something done. I wouldn't, if I were the Bucs, and I'm not, but if I were Jason.
Hold on. So this will go right into a mailbag question.
Perfect. Okay.
Because I know exactly where you're going with this.
Okay.
So Cliff wrote us. He says, Rick, you seem to favor letting Baker finish his contract and then franchising him if necessary after this year. I believe the flaw in your thinking is this. Baker's 2027 salary would be the average of the top 5 for quarterbacks. Let's call that $55 million. If he plays well and you tag him again, it's an automatic 20% raise, so $66 million. So after this year, Baker's agent starts negotiations with 2 years guaranteed at $121 million. Any years beyond 2 would have to exceed $70 million, with some portion guaranteed. A 3-year extension for $150 with 2 years guaranteed right now is the smart move by the Bucs. It also ensures a happy quarterback, which is no small thing. I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah,
I know what you're saying, and I guess I look at the franchise tag as a placeholder. It's one of those things where, the player could definitely win if he agrees to just play for the franchise tag, which no player wants to play for. But it also gives me protection, because no one's probably going to give me 2 number 1 picks if I franchise them high enough. But yeah, top 5 average salary at quarterback. But is he going to be much below that anyway? And the story that The Athletic did a couple weeks ago, talking about how forget the number, right? Whatever that number is in the 50 million range, that really what starting quarterbacks are eating up is 18% of the salary cap, which goes up about 25 million a year, 20 to 25. And so if you extrapolate that out, you're talking mid 50s anyway, right? For Baker right now. And all I'm saying is, are you sure he can stay healthy enough Are you sure you can protect the ball enough? And if you are, go ahead and try to lock him down, for the next 3-4 years. But, his best season came when he came here, as a guy playing under a make-it deal at $4 million. $4 million. What a bargain that was. $4 million a year. And had to compete, cough, cough, with Kyle Trask. That was his best season. I'm not sure it's a bad thing to have a guy, in that position again. And knowing that I'm not letting him out of here if he has a good year. If he goes out there and throws for, 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns, so long as the interceptions, he doesn't lead the league again, I'm going to lock him up anyway. His money's he's going to get paid. Yeah, you could save a little money and it would be more cap friendly for sure by getting a long-term deal. But how far am I willing to push that? Because I'm going to take some of that on the cap right now. It'll actually probably lower his cap number a little bit. I know they paid him a lot of the $30 million up front for this season coming up. So that was this year was not guaranteed in the original 3-year, $100 million deal. They guaranteed it before the start of last year. But then what do you have? You have a really good quarterback who is an absolute baller, but is going to wear down because he sustains a lot of hits and a lot of injuries. That's all. And every year begins the same with Baker Mayfield. Hey, man, we got to avoid some of the unnecessary big hits he takes out there. Okay. Well, who's going to tell him? You going to do it? You going to do it? No one's been able to do it yet. He plays the way he plays. And, so is that a guy that you want to give? If I'm his agent, I'm looking for 4 years, 4 years, average of over $50 million a year. You're talking about a $200 million commitment. You can do that right now before this next season? I don't know. And, more cap friendly deal probably than you would get after the season if he plays well. If he plays well, I'm happy to give it to him. If we go to the playoffs and we win a playoff game or two, and I think I win a Super Bowl with a guy and he plays that well, I'm all in. But am I sure I'm going to get that out of him? I know the effort's going to be there. I know he's going to be in shape. I know he can squat 450.
We talked yesterday, and we had a mailbag question about baseball prospects signing early and why you would do it, right? It's giving up long-term. Baker's got to decide, too, if he wants to sign a deal.
Security versus,
if he franchises next year, makes 55 and waits and goes another year, like he could make even a bigger contract.
Good.
Because the salary cap goes up, everything else.
Or he could become a free agent and go to whatever team he thinks is better.
So and the team's doing the same thing, right? Do we want to lock it in now? And if we're wrong, now we've locked in for 4 years at the Tua Tagovailoa, dead money in Miami and things like that? Or are you willing to, I'm not 100% certain yet he's the guy. Let me go one more year. Maybe I pay a little more because of it, but I'm going to make sure I've made the right decision. And those are the things that Jason Light is weighing. Those are the things that Baker Mayfield's camp is weighing.
And what's really hard to do? This is true. It's hard to take the emotion out of that decision. Because remember now, no one is a bigger face of the franchise than the quarterback, right? And they went 5 years with Jameis Winston. Think about that. They drafted him 1 overall. And you had every reason, from the interceptions to the off-field stuff, you had every reason to not gone that long with him. But they went all 5 years. Came close to signing him again.
Fired several coaches trying to find the right one for him.
Fired three different coaches. That said, the owners really liked Jameis Winston. Liked him. Liked him as a man. I know some people won't, and he's still playing in the league to his credit, not as a starter. They really like Baker Mayfield. And I think it's hard for the Glazers to take the emotion out of that. They like what he represents, and who wouldn't? He's found a home. He's embraced Tampa. Tampa's embraced him. You're in the business of selling tickets. You are. And you can sell Baker Mayfield. You can sell his effort. You can sell, hell, he's won enough, right? Like he hadn't won the Super Bowl yet, But if Sam Darnold can do it, there's no reason to think you couldn't build a team around Baker good enough to do it. So, and I know Jason Light loves it. Look, you never want to be in a position where you're picking in the top 5, but folks, that's where you got to be to get a franchise quarterback. Just look at the guys that go to and win Super Bowls.
I mean, there's not many Tom Brady's, Brock Purdy's.
No.
Where you can find them in the 6th, 7th round.
No, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's Josh Allen. Yeah. It's, those are the guys.
Yeah, and those guys are going top 10.
Sam Darnold was the 3rd overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Baker Mayfield was the 1st overall pick. You've got that guy, right? Like you want to get back into top 5. Well, you've got one of those top. You got the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, granted, it was from many, many years ago, but nonetheless, 2018. But you have that guy. So why do you want to not keep him, right? So long as he takes care of himself, he doesn't have a major injury. The way he plays would bother me. But if your team is better, if your play caller is better, right, he can protect Baker with play calling. He can protect Baker with a better team. Look, I think offensively, these guys, unless they go through this thing they did last year with the offensive line, remember, you had both tackles out for a while, and surprisingly, that's when they got up to a 5-1, 6-2 start. But
the other part is if he can improve the defense.
If your defense
maybe he takes a step back and doesn't become as, I don't say reckless, but throwing his body everywhere, because part of the problem is now
you're trailing in the 4th quarter every week.
They're trailing, or they don't think any lead is safe. 4th and 28. Like
that too. Yeah.
I mean, what could we scored the points, but our defense couldn't stop anybody. Like
that's right. Yeah.
So part of it is I got to get every point.
I got to score on every possession. Yeah. Exactly. You're not playing.
Tom Brady could sit there and throw the ball away all day long because his defense was always good.
Yeah.
They weren't always great, but they were good.
Yeah, good enough. Sure.
Yeah,
they got the ball back for him.
Yeah.
No, that's a fair point. That there was an awful lot on their shoulders the last couple of years, and they've got, and I don't think they have it figured out yet. Look, they got a bunch of 30-year-old guys. What did you say? 9 guys? Or was it 9 guys of 29 years old or more on this football team? They just added 5.
No, you said it was more than that. I thought.
Is it more than that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an older team. And the guys they've signed in the offseason, they're not buying green bananas, which is another reason why it looks like they're kind of all in for Baker Mayfield, to be honest with you. I think, here's what I think is pure king. I think they're going to end up signing him to a big deal sometime right before the start of the season. That's what I think.
I agree. I think that'll happen.
And they won't force it. It won't be one of those, hey, better do it by the first day of I don't think you'll get the ultimatum like Mike Evans' agent, where you're like, well, if he's not signed by the first week of the regular season, we're not talking. I don't think it'll be contentious that way. I think they'll get a deal because, one, he loves living here and he has stability, something he didn't have the first, 6 years of his career, 5 years of his career. And 2, the community loves him. He's in the prime of his career as a quarterback. Yep. You have a good team around him, a good offensive line. Now's the time to do you want to take all those assets? Because those windows close really fast. But you've got an NFL playoff ready system going here. If you with the offensive line, with the weapons around them, that calls for an experienced quarterback. That calls for, not having to bring a guy along,
I also don't think you'll have an ultimatum because, one, it's hard for a quarterback to do that.
I agree.
That is the leader of your team. But 2, I don't think Baker would do an ultimatum. I mean, there could be a kind of an understanding, hey, we're not going to talk during the season, but it's not.
That's
so
more
much
of a I don't want a distraction.
It's not so much an ultimatum because I also think, this team gave Baker a chance after 3 teams dumped him.
They gave him a chance, but he was willing to he came in here for $4 million.
But they gave him a chance, and so I don't think he's going to do the. I'm not saying he won't leave if he gets to that point of free agency. I'm just saying I think publicly he's not going to make it a bitter battle.
Well, what if I told you? It's like one of those 30 for 30. Mm-hmm. What if I told you? And this is the thing that's been dangled out there in writing. This is Matthew Stafford's last season. And the Rams will be looking to replace him after this year.
And he knows Sean McVay.
And Sean McVay is a huge Baker guy. He went out there on a week with no practice, yada yada. You know, that's
can you trade Baker Mayfield with them for many number ones like Detroit did?
Maybe.
I mean, Jared Goff.
They got Jared Goff in the package, so it helped to get a quarterback back, right? They don't have that guy, but yeah. That's
maybe you get a good defensive Jared Verse and then a bunch of number ones or something, you know.
I mean, maybe, but that's the leverage is that dude on the West Coast is Sean McVay. You know, that's it right there. Because if I'm Baker Mayfield, do I have a chance to go to a Super Bowl with Sean McVay and the Rams? You bet you do. Every year, every damn year, you do. So. There's no accident that team was mentioned in that Athletic article. Let me just say that. That's his leverage. I love Tampa. Yep. You know who I also love? Sean McVay.
Yep. And that's the one team in his career that didn't dump him like Carolina did. And
didn't dump him. Gave him a chance.
He came in was Stafford was hurt to fill in and play. Understanding on both sides. So
Right. But he had a hell of a good time, and he ingratiated himself with all those coaches, including Cohen, including the guy that he has now in Zach Robinson, who was also there, right? So, you know, there's your we should do it sooner than later. But again, you do have the franchise tag, you know, which some players don't like, but it exists for a reason. So my guess is because the other thing is Jason Light doesn't want to have to go find a quarterback.
No.
He's been at this for 12 years, man. You know, if you think about it, like, he got very fortunate with Brady, okay?
This franchise was at it for almost 50 years before they found one.
He was here 6 and didn't make the playoffs. That's still one of the most amazing stats ever. Like, he had a GM here for 6 years, no playoffs. How did he get there? How did he stick around? Tom Brady. And he came in here and he got 3 years out of him, not just 2, right? Started winning playoffs. Won a Super Bowl, started winning NFC South titles, then replaces him with who? With Baker? And you still win NFC South titles?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jason Light's not looking to go draft a quarterback and start over again. He's not. And he's hoping he doesn't, and I don't think he's going to lose enough games to do that. So, absolutely, I think he gets done. I'm just saying that tag is there if for some reason you can't come to an accord, and even the Rams or anybody else that wants to get him would have to give you a hell of a lot of compensation. But you can pretty much guarantee, whether you reach an agreement or not, that he's going to be your quarterback, you know, in 2027. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Speaking of winning rings, I don't have a ring for you, although, you know, maybe you can find one in the mall someplace. But I do want you to look at the watches, and that's at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the beautiful Breitling watches. The company's been in business over 140 years, making the best Swiss watches in the world. They've been in International Plaza for 5 years. Now, you go to the center of the mall, second floor. That's where you're going to find the Breitling Boutique. And they have watches for men, the Navatimers, the Chronomats that they're known for. Also, ladies' watches. These are sports watches, really durable, absolutely beautiful. She can choose from a whole bunch of different colored wristbands as well. What I want you to notice is the little display case on the side of the doorway there on the left side, and the NFL shield. That's because inside they have some samples of their NFL team watches celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary. Had the Buccaneers team watch in there, the Jaguars team watch. These are Chronomat watches for men. They have the team colors in the face of the watch, the logo inside. Absolutely stunningly beautiful collector's items if you've ever seen one. Go down, check it out. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you let them know you heard about it here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got some more mailbag questions. Let's keep it going.
All right, Joe had written us. He says, I am not a smart man, but something still seems off with the Mike Evans saga. He wanted out so badly that he uprooted his family and took less money without apparently even attempting to negotiate with the Bucs. During the season, there was a story where Richard Sherman said he didn't buy into the Bucs because he knew there were internal problems. After the season, Evans' agent stated on the local radio show that Mike specifically told him to tell the fans not to worry if he left because the Bucs had so many other good receivers. Do you think Mike Evans was frustrated that the Bucs spent last year's first-round draft pick on a receiver instead of addressing their other glaring needs? Alternatively, do you think there are other problems in the locker room that made him want to leave? Love the podcast and listen every morning. Thanks to you and Steve for putting it on.
All I heard was the last part. What was the question? No. Okay. Okay. Well, Joel. Is this Joel Glazer, by the way? Or is
Joe.
This
Joe.
Oh, Joe. I'm sorry. I thought I heard Joel. Okay, Joe. Good lead in there to I am not a smart man. I think you are a smart man. I do. Here's the thing. There is definitely an arc to be drawn between the Bucs drafting of Emeka Egbuka in the first round, okay, to Mike Evans leaving this team a year later. All right. But it's on both. It's really, I don't know that it's cause and effect, right? But they did it. Now, gun to the head, would they do it again? Probably would, because you know what? Emeka Egbuka looks like the real deal, man, to me. I mean, went through a midseason slump, fought his hands a little bit, had to play 4 different positions, and at one time they didn't have Godwin, they didn't have McMillan, like they didn't have Mike, right? So he was sort of an easy cover at that point. But if you go back and look at his numbers, damn near 1,000 yards as a rookie, 6 touchdowns, got off to an amazing start. So he's the real deal. But if you don't draft him, okay, and you add to the defense, maybe the defense is better, because it couldn't have been worse, right? Couldn't have been much worse than it was last year. And we'll always, forever and a day, the parting shot of Mike Evans leaving Tampa was, 3rd and 28. 3rd and 28, which then became 4th and 14, which then became, first down and a game-winning field goal by Atlanta, who overcame a 14-point lead or deficit with the final 9 minutes. So,
and now the Bucs signed that receiver that caught the pass too.
They did. Sills, yeah, on 4th down. And he's 6'3", 212, not quite as big as Mike, but certainly there's room in the receiver room for him. So again, I don't think he left because Emeka Egbuka is here, but he knows he's here, and Mike has things that Mike wants to accomplish. And I think it's fair to say this, that, first and foremost, Mike has always been about winning. He didn't win the first 6 years that he was here, 7 years. And then Tom Brady showed up and he won a Super Bowl ring. Okay. And that felt really good. Oh, and by the way, when he won that ring, who came in here and took targets away from him? Rob Gronkowski, right? Halfway through the season. You had, who am I forgetting about? Antonio Brown came in here. Godwin was still a big part of the receiving game, probably in his prime. You had dudes, and he was fine with just winning. And he still got his 1,000, by the way. He got his 1,000 yards anyway. So he was a huge part of winning that Super Bowl. And then that team got broken up and whatnot, and they've been trying to reload. But look, he wants the targets, and the passing game's always going to run through him if he's here. And I think he's going to get close to 1,000, but it's going to get harder because Baker Mayfield's not going to shoehorn the ball to Mike Evans. He's going to throw to the open guy. The defense is going to dictate where the ball goes. Mike knows that, okay? And you play to your strengths, right? If your best players on offense, if 3 of them are wide receivers or 4, they're going to be on the field more often than not. If it's 2 tight ends, it's going to be 2 tight ends. If it's 1 running back, it's going to be running. But there are more mouths to feed. And so the targets were going to go down and did. Now he got hurt. Now you can't, it's the first time he's been hurt in his career. First time he didn't reach 1,000 yards. But remember, the year before he got 1,000 on the final play of the season, of the regular season. And we all know how that went. A dramatic moment, one of the most dramatic moments in Bucs history. So he can hear the clock ticking louder in his head. And I don't think for Mike it's always been about the money. He's never been the highest paid anything. He hasn't made the $40 million that some of the elite, receivers make in this league, Jamar Chase and others. But for him, I think it's two things. It's I want to win a Super Bowl, number one. And don't forget, too, there's been 5 coordinators in 5 years. You can become exhausted every year you go to training camp. You got to learn a new offense. Now, there's some carryover to these things because you've had a lot of the principles, of the Rams offense since Liam Cohen came in here a few years ago. But still, it's every year with this stuff, right? Kyle Shanahan's one of the, if not the best play caller in football. Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere in San Francisco. Whether Mike stays a year, 2 years, 3 years, he's not going to leave. He's that good. I don't think the York family is looking to move on from Kyle Shanahan. So you have stability of coaching and system. You have a guy that's one of the best in the league at getting him the ball. Like Mike will find himself, the ball will find him in this offense. I thought it found him a lot in the Bucs offense too, but he believes he has a better chance to win out there, and that's why he took less money. It wasn't about the money. To me, it was about his legacy, which is winning another Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, he wants to get 10,000 catches, I believe. Is it 10,000 catches? No, 1,000 catches. I'm sorry, 1,000 catches for 10,000 yards. He's over 10,000 yards. So he wants to get to his 1,000 catches, which he's close to. And he wants to win a Super Bowl. And so, and finally, just try something different, man. Like he's at the point where he might play really his contract is a 1 year, $16 million guaranteed. You can say it's 3 years and average 20 million, whatever you want to make the numbers say what they say. But in reality, they're guaranteeing him $16 million this year. They can walk away. So he's not doing it for the money, I think. But to just ignore the fact that Emeka Egbuka is here and that Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin, that we seem to forget about, should be completely healthy and has spent the offseason not just rehabbing, but actually getting better and getting back to being Chris Godwin. Like, you can't ignore that. And they got 4 legitimate targets. And so I think Mike knows, the clock is running out on him. He doesn't know if he's going to play 1 year, 2, 3, closer to 1 than 3 probably. But if you don't draft Emeka Egbuka, there's a greater likelihood that he's back. I'm not saying it's why he left, but he told you that I know they're going to be fine. What does that mean? Right? That means he knows that Emeka Egbuka is a guy that's going to be getting a lot of targets. It's going to be, but it didn't bother him when Rob Gronkowski came in. He won a Super Bowl. It didn't bother him when Antonio Brown came in. Same reason. But now he's at the point where there's some things he wants to get done. He wants to get done quickly. So,
well, it also didn't bother you when Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown came in because Tom Brady wanted them, and Tom Brady gets what Tom Brady wants. So
that's true too.
No need to fight that one.
No, you can't fight. You can't fight the GOAT. You're not going to fight the GOAT. But you know what? The GOAT got him the ball too,
and got him a ring.
You got him a ring. You got him a ball. And if you look at that hug after that game, it's Mike comes up to Brady and says, "You did it, man. You are so damn happy you came and got this for us."
Mm-hmm.
And he put it all on Brady, and rightfully so. But now it's about legacy, and maybe just trying something different, and also, look where he's going. Okay, he's not signing with, and the Houston Texans would have made sense, right? Because it's hometown and all that, but they don't have a legacy there, right? He's not signing with the Arizona Cardinals, right? Like, this dude's going to the 49ers, and whose record does he share? Jerry Rice's. It's just different out there, man. They got 5 Lombardi trophies, not 2. They got 5, okay? And they've been to 2 more that they lost over the last 4 or 5 years. So he feels like, and he said it, I'm the missing piece. I might be that guy that can put them over the hump, right? But you're going to a franchise where, we were talking about the other day about fans coming in from other cities and filling your stadium. That gets weary. He made mention of, hey man, whenever we play out here, I noticed just how, and it's not like, look, that's the wine and cheese crowd out there in the Bay Area, but they're all 49er fans when you go to those games. They are, and so I'm sure he's looking at that too, that those games are going to be sold out. They're all going to be cheering for me. Like all that, just something different. But it's a legacy franchise. Like Jerry Rice will be on the field before the game, and Joe Montana and the Steve Youngs, they come back and, now you're part of that, right? So, look, man, I don't want to get in his head, but you can't go back and change history. But I do think because he told you so, I do think they're drafting Emeka Egbuka, and I don't even think that he would tell you it was a wrong idea for them to do so. But I do think there is a relationship to his decision to leave.
All right, we'll end on this one real quick. Just change the subject, but Christopher had written us. He says, how about them Rowdies? Undefeated with only 1 goal allowed so far in the season. What happened that they turned around their team after an abysmal season last year?
Well, full disclosure, I have not seen them play. My wife does work for the United Soccer League, so I'm very familiar with them.
Well, last year they went through 3 coaches.
They have, right. So they got a new coach this year, correct?
Yeah, they hired him late last year, but yes, I mean,
okay.
And then they changed out their roster quite a bit, and they're playing a lot better.
Now I'm guessing the goaltending's been pretty good too.
Well, you've given up 1 goal.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so you probably have somebody between the pipes there that's pretty good.
But also the guys in front.
But they're playing defense. Yeah,
exactly. So,
I mean, hey, hats off to them. Good for them. Go all the way. Like this is,
they were on a heck of a run for many years there, and then last year was really bad. So, like I said, they fired a coach, had an interim coach, and they finally hired their permanent coach, and
they got the right guy.
But, it was too late in the year to really turn it around and get things fixed, and, got to change personnel and everything. So they're in the right direction. I was talking to Ryan Sudol, who does the PA there at the Outlang for the Rowdies. So he was all excited about the season, of course.
And, of course, they're still owned now, or they're owned by Ken Babby and those guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So new ownership for the Rays, same new ownership for the Rowdies. What happens first? They win a soccer league championship, USL championship, or World Series?
Well, I mean, it's
an unfair question.
You're 4-0. I suppose you got to say you got a shot at the USL title this year. Do the Rays have a shot at the World Series this year?
I'm not convinced they do.
I mean, if their starting pitching stays great, if you can get to the postseason, like.
Well, you get to the postseason, I give you a puncher's chance. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I still don't think you're going to hit.
I'd love to see Caminero in the postseason.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to see Caminero anytime. That dude, I just wish he had more protection in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting for them. Like they threw it like they went up against a right-hander, so they do some different things with the lineup. But like, give me Chandler Simpson leading off, please.
Yep. Although the other night in the 9th inning, granted it was a 4-run game, but what are you stealing third for? When you're down reason. 4 and you're on
reason.
Like, and you got thrown out. Like,
yeah, you can't. You can't.
Your run doesn't mean anything, so you can't get an out. Like, granted, you still down 4, you probably weren't going to come back, but
you can't make it out at third there. You just got to play the game at that point. Just play the game. You're in scoring position. Literally, you can score on any base hit. Right?
Exactly. You're at second. You're in scoring position.
I don't need you at third base unless you're trying to score on a wild pitch.
Yeah.
But that's just bad ball. That's bad ball. Play the percentages. Don't be a hero. Like maybe you force an errant throw to third, or maybe make something happen.
But you need 4 runs, not 1. So
your run doesn't matter that much.
Risking the out, there's really no reason to risk an out there. Yeah.
No, you cannot trade an out for that. Nope.
Yep.
Not for 1 bag.
The reward isn't good enough.
No.
To risk it.
No way. So yeah, he's still learning the game, and he has a long way to go on defense as well. So
he's getting better on defense, though. Getting better.
He is getting better, and I think if they leave him in left field, he'll learn how to play left field.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, is not easy at the Trop.
Yeah, he's not going to be a center fielder in his career. He can't throw the ball far enough.
He didn't have a good enough arm. No,
yeah.
But there's been plenty of guys in the majors play left field with his hose.
Yeah. But if he can just go, chase balls down.
Yeah, run them down in the gaps, and give me 4 or 5 good competitive at bats every game, and get on 2 or 3 times. And I think he brings energy. That there are certain guys, like, you have to be successful to do that. You got to get on base, But I play with a guy in college who reminds me of him. He didn't run 3.9 to first, but he was pretty damn fast. This kid was about 5'9.5" tall. Tim Maloney. He's in the Arkansas State Hall of Fame, but you look at him and you go, where's the rest of you, right? Little guy, played the outfield, but he bat the ball with everything. And he was a switch hitter, but bat the ball. But if he hit the ball on the ground, middle of the field, but brother, you were going to get him. He was going to leg it out 50% of the time, And if he chopped one or had the swinging bunt type action on the ball, you get 50 hits a year that way, And then once he's on, he's a threat to steal, get to third. It was like throwing the guy a triple every time he got a base hit. So those guys are so disruptive that, he's a real weapon. So I'm excited to see him continue to mature and hopefully be the everyday, because I think he can hit left-handers too. You're not looking for him to hit home runs. You're just looking for him to put the ball in play, which he does. It's been fun to watch. All right. So that does it for the mailbag today. You can always submit those to us at SportsDayTB or send it to me at NFL Stroud on Twitter or X. My email address is rstroud@tampabay.com. Make sure you get down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the NFL team watches while supplies last. Also, watches for your wife or girlfriend. It's Breitling Boutique. Let them know that you heard about it here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.